Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm from Ukraine, and I have decided I will vlog daily from my country Ukraine since the start of this awful war with Russia. I did not expect to vlog for a year or more, but I'm very grateful for the community of subscribers that have shaped around the channel. And if you're new, please check my videos. If you like them, subscribe, because the world needs to know more about Ukraine, and I'm doing my best to give you a balanced but subjective, as it is a vlog, opinion on the situation inside my country and various global events that influence war in Ukraine, Russian war in Ukraine. And today I want to speak and actually to ask your opinion on explosions that from time to time happen on the territory of Russian Federation. Some of them are associated with the underground work of various pro-Ukrainian movements or direct intrusion of Ukrainian armed forces. I know that the majority of countries, governments, politicians agree that Ukraine should not escalate, the world should not escalate, and the only country that can escalate is Russia. I don't know why is it so, and personally for me it is total absurd when we think that a victim of war, a victim of violence can somehow escalate the conflict. It is very similar to the phrases like that everybody knows that a woman can provoke her rapist with a clothes. We know it is not a woman to blame, but a rapist. Just the same about Russia and its action, not only towards Ukraine, but towards Georgia, Chechnya, and actually all the world, as they repeatedly threaten to nuke us all or some other things. So, from what I know, Ukrainian armed forces receiving foreign ammunition, receiving trainings and support, always promise not to use it on Russian territory. So, according to modern political and military situations, Ukrainians are allowed to protect themselves only on the territory of Ukraine, sacrificing Ukrainian lives, Ukrainian infrastructure, but not crossing the border of the countries that actually started it all. And I know that Ukrainians are very responsible towards the obligations they take, and nobody does that. But the longer we are in this war, the more we think how honest, how just these conditions are. Of course, we are not going to turn ourselves into orcs, and I am sure that our president and our soldiers would never order to target civilian objects in Russia, their schools, hospitals, streets, trade centers, everything they do in Ukraine. But I am convinced that when the war is open, the aggression is vividly fixed, and there are no signs of stopping, we have to be allowed to target their military objects. Why? Because these military objects are designed, are working 100% 24/7 to destroy Ukrainians, to kill our children, women, to develop new operations and so on. This is just the same. Personally, if I had an opportunity to kill Putin, I would never doubt to do that, because of course I'm against killings and murders, and I prefer to live according to Bible. But in this case, I'm sure this is a very correct decision, like to stop a monster that kills thousands of people. By killing him, I think it's totally okay. So the same is about targeting Russian military objects. Today on the news we've read that customs border service in Rostov, which close to Ukraine, is on fire. Some people report because of drones, others because of explosions that were heard, but the whole building is on fire. From time to time, different military objects are burning in Belgorod, in Rostov. These are regions close to Ukraine, but there were also cases when objects were burning deeper in Russia, where, for example, Ukrainian operated drones cannot reach. So it is very likely that either these are inside supporters of Ukraine or some Ukrainian agents working on the territory. But what I want to say and what I want to ask you is actually your attitude. Of course, it goes without saying that we should not target Russian civilian objects. But do you think it's not okay to target some of the military objects? And I know that at the beginning of this war, Ukrainian hackers managed to make some air raid alarms work in bordering with Ukraine Russian cities. People were terrified. They did not have bombs, they did not have planes, they did not have missiles flying. They only heard the air raid alarm and they were frightened. I think the great problem is that Russians support this war, and they also support this war because they don't feel it. It is very far away. It is somewhere in Ukraine. Some unknown people are dying, and they typically hate foreigners and hate those who like Western better way of lifestyle. They hate democracy. They like punishing people who are successful, spreading their misery. So they are satisfied with that, but they don't actually feel what war is. What is that like, to see so many people dead, to have so many wounded in your hospitals, no electricity, even air raids that prevent you from normal living? And I think if they had tasted it, maybe they would be more active inside their own society. So, but once again, I'm saying I am only for targeting that military objects, and I think that would be a very important step. Why? Because Russians are cowards. You won't believe me, but they are cowards. And when you start reading their social media, their publics directly after some minor fires, some minor explosions, sometimes even not associated with the actions of Ukrainians, they are terrified. They start complaining that Russia is bad, Russian air defense systems aren't working, Russian soldiers aren't professional, the operation is total nonsense, it casts danger on all Russian society. So maybe this would lead to some revolutions inside their society. But we are not allowed to do that. We are allowed to turn our own land into graveyard and battlefield, but we cannot cross the borders because these are red flags. Do not escalate, do not provoke Russia. But you see, Russia is a terrorist. It does not need any provocation. All the scenes, all the crazy ideas, they are born in the head of Putin, inspired by his population. So I honestly think that if we were allowed to do that, I mean to target the military objects, this war could turn into a faster, more dynamic pace. Of course, everyone is afraid of Putin using nuclear weapons, but like he can use them even without any particular reason. You know, he attacked Ukraine because we have secret NATO laboratories on our territory. We all know they don't exist. NATO knows, everybody knows, and even Russia knows they don't exist, but they've said they exist and they've attacked. So if they wish to continue with nuclear weapons, they won't need any escalations, provocations, and so on. So conclusions that I personally make observing this situation and the way it develops. Number one, a victim cannot escalate the conflict. A victim can only protect itself effectively or non-effectively. When non-effectively, this means the prolonging of this war, more deaths on the Ukrainian side and more danger to global society because Putin grows crazier with each day. Second, when targeting military objects in Russia, we will be able to stop the war and at least to make Russians feel what war is. When they hear explosions, when they see smoke, they realize what war is, and possibly they can shake society from their side to throw Putin off his throne, or at least to demonstrate dissatisfaction. And also Russians are cowards. Russians are cowards, and you don't have to be afraid that we will turn into orcs and start killing Russian children. No, Ukrainians are very different. There is a huge civilizational, I don't know, even DNA encoded difference between us. And we are always about development, about like protection our own territory, and we don't need anything from them. We need Russia to change, we need safety on our borders, and we need our country, our territories back. We cannot have our deceased beautiful heroes back, and that is also a problem. So anyway, let me know, what do you think? What is your attitude towards Ukrainian armed forces, and whether they are allowed to target objects on the territory of Russia? And I can already answer you that I understand that this will not happen. No matter what, I understand that we will not be allowed and we will not do that because we are responsible and we respect the rules and borders that we have. But these minor explosions and minor accidents on the territory of Russia, they are good because we can see how Russians are afraid, how quickly they react, and how vulnerable actually they are. And in this imaginary world where I can see like NATO troops walking, crossing the border of Russia, I think that everyone would be surprised how quickly they could have taken over Kremlin. I think that Russia is very poor, just as it described itself very strong and um, eager to take Kiev in 3 days. The same will happen when they will start protecting their territories, and they will lose very quickly. But no one wants the collapse of Russia. I mean politicians. But we do. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for comments that you leave. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and share, because the world needs to know more about Ukraine. And don't you forget about us as this war continues. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons, and thus supporting our projects. I'm really grateful for the community that we have shaped around the channel. Slava Ukraini!